She brings you all the highlights from the games. And y'all, this girl is a highlight herself. Rosie Langello joined the WSFA 12 News team in 2022 as the station's first ever female sports director. It's a prominent position that comes with some pressure, but you'd never know it. We sat down at one of her favorite places to unwind and talked about everything from her athletic past to her romantic future. It was so much fun to get to know this girl you don't see on TV. I'm Bethany Davis, and this is Being Real.
Sponsored by Bryan Jewelry. Ever since she was a little girl, I've always tried to show I cared by giving her the very best.
I know. That's why I went to Bryan Jewelry.
Smart man.
When it's time to ask the most important question of your life, make sure you have what you need to show her you're serious. At Bryan Jewelry, we'll help you through every step of the way to find the right ring for her. We can create beautiful custom designs and also engrave your personalized engagement message. Give her the best. Bryan Jewelry, Prattville.
Your background as a Pennsylvania girl, and then you worked in New England, and then you found yourself in Montgomery, Alabama.
I know, of all places. Of all
Was
places.
that kind of a culture shock for you?
Yes, but the biggest culture shock I think is the food. I swear it's the food. It's just
in a good way or a bad way.
I don't want to make people mad. It's just there's a lot of fried food that I'm not used to. There's also a lot of fried seafood, and I like raw seafood. So that was an adjustment. I would say I'm getting a lot better with the food here for sure. You can ask our news director about it because I wasn't a really big sweets person until I moved down here. And then WSFA, there's sweets every single day. You know what I mean?
Well, we say WSFA stands for We Serve Food Always.
And it
doesn't actually, but that's what we say.
It's true. There will always be something in the newsroom to eat, which is great. So it's gotten me used to the food here in Alabama. Culture shock. The food, that was the biggest thing. Everything else, everyone's been extremely nice. Southern charm, Southern hospitality, that's a real thing, and I never experienced it before I moved down here. We went to Andalusia for a game. It was a big regular season game between them and Catholic, and we went down there, and that Southern hospitality, they made us feel so welcomed. They got us dinner, they showed us around the stadium, everyone was saying hello. It was so cool, and it was so nice, and I was like, this is true Southern hospitality, and I love it. They were so sweet. So a little bit of a culture shock for sure, but I think I've adjusted.
So you've been here a couple of years now.
2.5.
2.5 years.
Yeah,
wow.
2.5 years.
We don't really ever get to see each other, so
I know.
Our schedules are opposite,
Yep.
so I can't really keep track. But do you feel like you've settled into this culture?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so for sure. And I credit people at WSFA for sure, and then I credit our viewers as well. They've made me feel so comfortable to the point where I feel like I can be myself on air, I can be myself in person, and I'm a little different on TV. Obviously, we're a little more proper when we have to be, but if you catch me out in the field, I mean, we can chit chat for a half hour about anything, and I love meeting new people, and the viewers here are incredible, like no other market I've ever been to. So I would say I've definitely settled in for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think you say that, but your personality and your spirit, you've got just such a warm and inviting spirit that I think it just welcomes people to welcome you.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I try to be friendly to everybody. Why not? You know, especially when you're somewhere new, you want to learn the culture, you want to learn the people, you want to be involved in the community, and you want to make an impact. And that's my goal here, is to hopefully make an impact, not just in the community, but especially in the sports community.
Well, I mean, I think you're doing that.
Thank you.
You are the very first woman to ever hold the position of sports director at WSFA 12 News. Station with a lot of history behind it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that notoriety?
I do now. When I first took the job, I had no idea, actually. Scott Duff, our former news director, he interviewed me for the job, and we go through with the process, and then he sends out the email saying like, oh yeah, she is our first woman sports director. And I remember sitting at my sports desk in Providence reading that email, and I was like, no way! Like, I said it out loud, like, no way! Like, that's so cool! I had no idea, and I think he slipped that in there for a reason, you know what I mean? He didn't want that to be what the job was about, and I totally respect him for that. And then when I saw that email, I was like, all right, it's a little bit of pressure here. And I didn't know really what the station was to the community because I was up in Rhode Island. I was doing other things. I wasn't from here, so I had no idea the impact that the station has had on this community. When I got down here, I was like, whoa, okay, yeah, this is a lot of pressure, especially the things that Phil Snow and Jeff Shearer and Stephen Gunner and Haley and Maria have really just put into the sports department. I felt that pressure because they have such a great reputation, and I was like, I need to uphold that reputation. I thought about it weekly for, I swear, my first year here. Now I think about it probably, I do still think about it quite often, but I'm like, I've settled in. I think I've upheld the reputation pretty well. I know back in the day there used to be a couple more people in the sports department. It's kind of dwindled to 2 people, but I still think that we do a good job trying to cover everything.
Do you keep in touch with some of those?
I
know Jeff Shearer is great about reaching out to people. You keep in touch with some of those old faces?
I do. And Stephen Gunner, when I first started here, was extremely helpful, just getting to know certain people, and I would ask him questions, and he would help me out. Haley was great. When I was interviewing for the job, I did my homework, and I told Scott Duff, hey, I'm gonna call Haley. And he was like, yeah, go ahead. And she's so blunt, and I love it. She's so herself, and I truly love that girl. She was like, you need to take this job. Like, you need to take this job. She basically said, like, you're stupid if you don't take this job, which I totally respect her for that. And she was right. She was 100% right. I'm so happy that I listened to her. So I keep in touch with her. Maria has reached out several times. I've met her in the field. She's a great girl, too. And then Jeff Shearer, I see all the time at Auburn. He gives us some great pointers, great story ideas about people in the local community. Brody Croyle, who I did a story on, he was like, hey, we got an anniversary coming up. You got to do the story. And it was a great story. So it's nice because I just feel like there's a team of people that were there that are, you know, still a team with me there now.
I gotta say, you've done a really good job of just kind of slipping in and continuing what has already been set up for you, which sometimes is hard to do. Sometimes it's, you think, oh, I just gotta not wreck the ship, but sometimes it's a big ship.
It's a big ship.
It's a big ship to drive.
It's a big, big ship. I didn't realize it until I got here too, because on the phone, Scott Duff was like, yeah, we cover 7 college football teams. And I'm like, okay, well, I cover like a lot up here. And then I get down here, I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is a lot. This is a lot to adjust to. But once we got into football season, I was well prepared. And the timing of me being hired was at the end of January. So I got to know a lot of the coaches and a lot of the players and what we cover before football season. So that way, when I got there, we really hit the ground running. And I think our first season, it went without any bumps or bruises. We did really well, in my opinion. And it was a blast. I had Jamal on my team then, and he was already in the area before working at WSFA, and he came back, so he knew a lot. He's from Alabama, which was a huge help for me, not being from here. So he was like, hey, this is a former player here, this is a former player there. And you don't know that when you first enter the market. You know, you got to do some digging, you got to do some research, but he was definitely an encyclopedia when it came to that.
Okay, since you mentioned football season, let's talk about football season, because I always feel like if you're not really a part of this area, you don't really understand it until you experience it.
Yeah.
Well, it's an experience.
It is, and I get it because there's no pro teams here. So, you know, Alabama, Auburn, Troy, every other team is like their pro team. And I love that because I tried out the pros, right? I tried to cover the pros, and it was a great time. But I really wanted to get back into college football because there's nothing like it. I'll say it till the day that I die. There's nothing like college football. Even with the NIL and everything that's changing, there's nothing like it. And I experienced that when I first covered Penn State up at Beaver Stadium, when I was reporting on Penn State and Altoona. And I'll never forget that feeling of like the atmosphere of Beaver Stadium. And I was like, this is sick. And then I went to the pros, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong. I was like, but I want to go cover the SEC. For sure. I want to grow roots there. I want to go cover a big SEC school. And lucky for me, I'm covering 2.
How and then I lived up to your expectations?
It's been insane. Like, I mean, ever since we got here, it's been insane. I still can't believe I've been here for when Nick Saban retired. How
did you look up on that timing?
I mean, what in the world? That was an insane day. But yeah, back to your question. It's awesome. I mean, I have the coolest job. I swear. I tell people that all the time. I'm just like, I don't have to sit at a desk 24/7. I can go tell stories. I can go report on Alabama, Auburn, Troy, Tuskegee, Alabama State, Faulkner, Huntington, like run through them all. We have all those connections and storylines that we can report on. So we're never short of content. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
Have you always been a sports fan? I mean, has this been something that you knew from the beginning you were going to do?
No, I didn't know I was going to be a journalist, but I've always been a sports fan. We always grew up playing sports, watching sports. I have 3 older sisters, bless my dad for that, he has 4 girls, but we've always been involved in sport, right? So I knew I wanted to do something within sports or sports medicine or exercise science, which that was my major in college, and then I switched my last year to media and kind of hit the ground running and decided to be a sports reporter. And so that's kind of what I've just been doing now since I've been, gosh, I guess it's since I was graduated college in 21, then went to grad school, and ever since then, that's what I've been doing. So yeah.
4 girls. All 4 of you played sports?
All 4 of us played sports, yep.
What sports?
I played field hockey mostly. I played soccer all my life growing up, and then I hit like 7th or 8th grade, and I changed to field hockey. I love field hockey. I know it's not very well known down here in the South, but up north, I mean, it's born and bred to play field hockey up there. And then all my sisters played soccer. One of my sisters played basketball as well. We coached the Special Olympic soccer team in Lebanon, Pennsylvania growing up. My dad was the head coach, and then I helped him as a volunteer coach until I turned 18. Then I coached the team myself. So we've always done something with sport, no matter what, and we're huge Philadelphia Eagles fans. Go Birds! So yeah, we've always done something with that.
What kind of lessons do you think you learned through your team experiences that have prepared you for where you are now?
Yeah, I think leadership is one thing for sure because of the position that I am now, and I didn't see it when I was younger, but we had a lot of leaders on our field hockey team, and admittedly I was not one of them for sure. I was always a follower on that team, and I just kind of was like, yeah, I don't want to be a leader. I just kind of want to follow. I want to do my own thing and things like that. Then I got to college, joined some club hockey, and I kind of started getting up in the ranks there. We were pretty good. We won like the championship for club hockey there, and I scored all the goals. I'm not bragging, but I was pretty good. But I was like, yeah, this is a great feeling. Like, I like this. I led my team to victory type of thing. And then I was on another team, not a sports team, but in my sorority I was the president. So then the leadership kept like kind of on growing and growing, and then I've always been like a number 2 or number 3, so we call it in the sports world, in the sports department. So I've either been like a weekend sports anchor or a number 3 sports reporter. So when I got this call from Scott Duff, I was like, I know how to be a leader. Like, I am a leader, a natural born bred leader. It just kind of took me a little while to realize that, but it's because of the teams that I was in that kind of propelled me to this spot in a way. So yeah, you're right. I mean, all of those team settings, you don't realize it when you're younger, but then when you're my age now, it's like, oh, all those things prepared me for this moment now. So it's so important when you're younger and when you have young athletes or just young kids to get them involved in something where they're around a group of kids, they can bond, they can socialize, because they'll realize it when they're older, like, ooh, I remember that camp helped me out back then. So
what makes you a good leader?
I think I listen to my people. I listen to my teammates. I also think that I'm really big on having a personal life, and that's something in this industry that I didn't have until I moved here. So I wanted to make it a point for my team to also have a personal life. You know, I don't want you working 12 hours a day on a weekday in June. You know what I mean? We're not that busy right now, but there's no reason for you to work 12 hours that day. Like, we're a team. I'm going to handle the first 6, you handle the last 6 type of thing. You know, I don't believe we have the 1s and 2s. I don't really believe in that. Like, you're just my teammate. You know, at the end of the day, we're just a teammate. I feel like we're on the same level. Like, yeah, I make some of the decisions, but I always ask, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Like, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? So I think that's what makes me a good leader, is that I'm just always asking and listening to my team on what they want to do, and then coming to a consensus and just being like, yeah, let's just do it this way.
Can we talk a little bit about your personal life?
Yeah, sure.
Because you do.
Yeah.
We should mention too, we're at Chuck's Marina, Chuck's
Yes.
Pizza on Lake Martin, because the reason we chose to be here is because this is a place that you really enjoy spending time.
I love it here. Yeah, it's
Not
so
by
much
yourself,
fun.
with your fiance
Yes,
too.
yes, with my fiance. Yeah, we were living in Prattville when I first got here. So the first 6 months we lived in Prattville, and then one day we're just like, let's go explore Alabama. I had off on a Saturday. It was maybe like the 5th month I was here. And it was June, middle of June.
We're obviously not the fall if you were off on a Saturday.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So we were like, let's go on a hike in the middle of June in Alabama.
Huh.
Very
Clearly
new.
It was your first June in Alabama.
Yeah. So we looked up this hike at the Alpine Trail here on the lake, and quick little hike turned into a 6-mile hike. We got lost, and we were so tired at the end of our hike. We just said we want some brews and pizza. Like, where can we go find some pizza? Like, we're exhausted, we're sweating, we're gross, we just want to find some food. We looked up pizza, and this was the first place that popped up, and it wasn't too far from the Alpine Trail, so I was like, let's try this Chuck's place, like, whatever. We walked up and we were like, yeah, this is cool. This is really cool. They have our favorite beer here, which is Mango Cart. We love Mango Cart. We love pizza. We love wings. And you could bring your dog here. So then when we got a dog, we got our little Louie, we could bring him here, and we love it here. It's very chill. We love being on the lake. We're getting married on the lake. So it's just nice. I'm also a big, I love watching the boats come back and forth in the marina. I could sit here all day. It's so nice.
Yeah. This is beautiful.
And they have TV, so we can watch sports too.
You can keep watching sports.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you are just surrounded by sports. Like you
Always.
don't ever get away. Your fiance is a
Yep.
coach.
Yep.
He's
Never
a
get away.
coach.
Yep. I know. How does that happen, right? That was not planned at all. I had no idea until his mother told me. And I was just like, okay, well, I knew the day I met him I was going to marry that man, but I didn't know I was ever going to marry a coach. Like, that was never the goal, you know what I mean? I would say I was never into athletes or anybody. I didn't really have a type, but he's my type for sure.
How did you meet?
So we met at Penn State, and I did a story on his brother, who was a pitcher on the Penn State baseball team. And I was a reporter, like I said, in Altoona covering Penn State. And so I did the story on his brother, and his brother had his senior day, and they're all from Tampa. That's where they live. So his family came up for his senior day, and his mother, Jenna, when I posted the story on Facebook, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was like, I love this story. Like, who are you? Come to find out, she is from the Philadelphia area, kind of near where my parents grew up in Philadelphia, like right across the bridge in Jersey. Bizarre, very bizarre. Anyway, I saw them on senior day, and I was like, ooh, I should definitely just go up and say hello to her, just to meet face to face. And I just went up to her and I said, hey, like, my name's Rosie. I was the journalist that did the story on your son, Blake. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, we loved it, blah, blah, blah. And this is very early in my career. Loved the story. It wasn't that good. It just wasn't that good yet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very, very early on was not that good at storytelling. So I was so appreciative that she loves the story. And she's sitting there and she introduced me to her now daughter-in-law, Darby, and then her husband, Bud, and then she introduced me to Cody. And she turned around, she's like, this is my son, Cody. And I like shook his hand, and I just was like, he's pretty cute. Like, he's pretty cute. I swear, he doesn't believe me, but it was love at first sight, even though he had like sunglasses and a hat on. I looked him up on Instagram and stuff, so I was like, he's pretty cute. So we didn't talk for a little bit after that, you know what I mean? We would just like each other's pictures on Instagram, and he was a GA on the Penn State football team at the time, but she was like, hey, he's gonna be around for summer, and I was like, okay, noted. So we don't talk for like 2 weeks or whatever, and then I was listening, I can't remember the name of the podcast, but I was single, and the podcast lady was just like, yeah, just go for it, like reach out to someone, and I was like, I'm just gonna message him on Instagram, which is not like me at all. For stories, yes, but to see someone? No, I'm way too shy for that when it comes to that world. But I did it, and I was just like, hey, here's my phone number. Your mom said that you were sticking around, and he texted me 5 minutes later. So from then on, yeah, he's just been my guy. So it was awesome.
So you feel like, has he told you, did he feel the same way?
He said that I was so pretty. And I was like, so it wasn't love at first? No, it's fine. But he didn't know me, you know what I mean? And he's the same way as me when it came to dating. We're both very shy. We were very, very focused on our careers. So we were just kind of like, not dating, but dating, seeing each other, but not seeing each other, because we were just so focused on getting to our next spots that we were kind of like, well, I'm going to put that in the background. It was only until, I would say, after football season that we finally could go on a date and actually get to know each other. And he's just my type of guy. All his beliefs, values, everything, we just matched. We just hit it off. And yeah, we did long distance for almost 2 years. Yeah, he was in Arizona, I was in Rhode Island, and that wasn't great. But then I moved here.
Long distance.
Yeah, it was the worst. But then I moved down here, and he moved down here for me. And, you know, he needed a job, and he would love to be in college football again, you know, but I just said, well, there's a lot of great high schools around here. And he messaged Kurt Johnson, the head coach at Montgomery Catholic, and was like, hey, man, I just moved to the area, and I would love a job if you have one. And they just so happened to have an offensive coordinator job. And he was like, hey, yeah, like I actually have something open, like give me a few weeks here. I met Kurt Johnson like a week later because our Fever Athlete of the Year was Jeremiah Cobb. Weird. And I was just like, hey, you know, my boyfriend at the time is looking for a job. He goes, oh, that's your boyfriend? I was like, yeah. Connected the dots, and he got the job. Like, I swear I was supposed to be here. Like, everything that has happened has just lined up for us. And so, for some reason, I was supposed to be in Montgomery, Alabama. I don't know why, but we're very happy here.
Ever since she was a little girl, I've always tried to show I cared by giving her the very best.
I know. That's why I went to Brian Jewelry.
Smart man.
When it's time to ask the most important question of your life, make sure you have what you need to show her you're serious. At Brian Jewelry, we'll help you through every step of the way to find the right ring for her. We can create beautiful custom designs and also engrave your personalized engagement message. Give her the best. Brian Jewelry, Prattville.
You said you were kind of shy. Do you consider yourself like a shy, introverted?
I think when it comes to my personal life and like love life, I would say I'm pretty shy. I would say in the journalism world, I'm pretty outgoing. I like to meet new people. When we go to SEC Media Days, I'm always like, oh, I get to meet so many new people from so many different beats, and I love doing that. I love reaching out to people on social media that I know, that I follow, that I read their work. I'm like, hey, I love this article. I thought this was so funny. But as I get older, I'm definitely more introverted when it comes to like a social life, right? I like being at home. I like staying at home with my dog. You know, he needs me and I need him.
He's pretty darn cute.
He's cute. Yeah,
He
it's
really
hard
is.
to leave him every day.
What about your relationship with your sisters?
Oh, it's great. They're my best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them all. They're awesome. We have Emily, she's the oldest, and then Louise, and then Anna. Anna still lives with my parents. She has an intellectual disability, but she can be an artist one day, she's a chef another, she's a dancer, she's a singer, she has a lot of jobs, okay? And she's actually working at Hershey's Chocolate World, which if you ever go to Hershey, my sister's at the end handing out the chocolate. That's a new job.
Very cool.
Yes, I'm very proud of her. She's also an artist, so she just has all these pictures all over her walls. We have pictures, she sells them online through a gallery for people with intellectual disabilities. Louise is a captain down in St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Yes, and my oldest sister, she used to be a teacher and now she's a head bank teller. So they all have great jobs, and I've looked up to them in my career because they've always been leaders, I think, themselves. So it's kind of helped me along the way.
Yeah, I think there's something really cool about sisters. I had one sister that was close to my age, and I have a baby sister who's not close. But when you grow up, I think, with other girls who become women together, it's such a cool bond. Even if you don't talk necessarily every day or every week, there's such a bond there, and that it's hard to describe. It's hard to put it into words, but it's like somebody, you just always know somebody's got your back.
Always. Always. And when I was little, I used to have my favorite sister, who I'm not going to say, but
you don't have to name her.
I'm sure they know, but they're all my favorites. As we grow older, I'm just like, I'm not like one, I'm not unlike the other. You know, we're all kind of the same at the end of the day from our parents and whatnot. We all look different, obviously. We look like one parent, we look like the other, but they're great. They've been great role models to me growing up. We have a lot of fun stories, a lot of sister fights, of course, you know, having sisters. It got a little wild in our house at times. But yeah, I mean, bless my dad for having 4 girls. I mean, that doesn't happen often. So, but he's loved it. He's embraced every moment.
So far, what's been your favorite, we'll just call it experience, when it comes to the sports teams here?
There's been a lot that I've thought about, and I think I have like 3 favorite moments so far. Actually 4, and I think one of them is watching Troy win back-to-back Sun Belt titles.
Yeah,
like that
really
is
cool.
awesome. Again, the timing of things, like really neat to watch that program be so successful. And I know we have a lot of Troy grads in the building, so that was neat. And then I would say the Rose Bowl was incredible. I never thought I would get to go to the Rose Bowl. And then I watched that game, and then went to overtime. Nick Saban was coaching. Like, you can't make that up. You can't make that up. That was such an experience. And then the Iron Bowl this past season was nuts. Like,
it was nuts.
Beaver Stadium and Jordan-Hare Stadium have a lot in common when it comes to the fans. And honestly, I don't know which one is louder, but that night during the Iron Bowl this past season, I couldn't hear anything by the end of that. That was so chaotic. That game was insane. I'll never forget that. And then I think what was my other one? There was a 4th one too that I can't think of right. Oh, March Madness this past season. I went traveling across the world.
You were so busy.
I was gone.
You never came home.
No, I didn't think I was coming home. And silly me, I scheduled a vacation because I didn't think Alabama was going to make it that far. No one did. And I scheduled a vacation, and luckily we had Davis start, so he was able to go to Phoenix, and my whole family was coming down. So I was like, I can't miss seeing my family. I don't see them that often. And luckily Davis was like, yeah, I'll go to Phoenix. Like, I'll go cover a Final Four. So I think about it in the back of my head. I'm like, never do that again. But I was so happy for him. That was his first live shot, was covering a Final Four. And then I just went on a journey from Nashville, Spokane, and then Los Angeles. It didn't stop. But it was awesome. I've never traveled like that, and WSFA has definitely sent me almost everywhere. It's been awesome because my other stations, I never got to go anywhere. So it's been really neat here to just experience that type of journalism, that type of life on the road.
Everything is all about relationships.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think when you're good at building relationships in your job, you're really good at building relationships outside of your job, which honestly are probably the more
things that matter.
Relationships to begin with.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
How do you feel like your relationships, not just with your family or your fiance, but relationships with other people have shaped you and the sports broadcaster that you are?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that I've been able to learn from all walks of life, and I really noticed that when I went to Northwestern. I got my master's degree from Northwestern, and that was the first time I was taken out of Pennsylvania and put into Chicago, and I was 22 years old. I was super young, and I met so many different people from all walks of life, all different parts of the country, different countries, and that was my first experience of building relationships with people that may not be like me, that are not from Pennsylvania. And I'll never forget that experience, learning about different cultures and different walks of life, and some of those people are still my best friends. But that started shaping me and how I built relationships, for sure. I'm so happy that I decided to spend all my money at Northwestern. I'm so happy that I went there. It was such a great experience, but I think more when I think back to it, like, yeah, I got a lot of great schooling, but I also developed a lot of relationships there that I still am in contact with today. And sometimes you need to be plucked from your hometown and put into somewhere where you may be uncomfortable for a little bit, but you need to learn how to interact with people and get to know them and learn their walks of life, and then they'll get to know you, and that's how you form those relationships.
Do you consider yourself a trailblazer?
Here, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I've had a woman come up to me. I'll never forget this, actually. It wasn't too long ago. A woman came up to me and she was like, I'm so happy that we have a female sports director here. I was like, really? Like, thank you. Like, that means so much. She's like, yeah, my little girls watch you all the time. We love that we can turn on the TV and there's a woman on our TV and we can listen to her talk about sports. Because she's like, my babies think that they can do that. And I'm like, they can do that. We all can do that. We're all capable of doing that. If you love sports, if you love talking about sports, if you know sports, you can do what I'm doing, But here, for sure, I think I'm a trailblazer, definitely.
Well, I think, too, this women in sports idea, even on a national scale, is very new.
Yeah.
Particularly in this super ultra traditional area like Montgomery, Alabama. It's very, very, very new. But I do think the industry, really even just the public thought process, has come a long way.
Yeah, I agree.
Are we there yet? How much more do we need to come?
We've got a ways to go, I think. I think we're getting there, for sure. I do think that this area has accepted me. I do think that they have embraced me, and I'm very, very thankful for that, because that was a concern. It's the South. Like, I knew coming into this, like, oh yeah, there might be some pushback here, but I honestly haven't felt that whatsoever. I do think nationally, we need more women in press conferences. We need more women's perspective in the room. I think we always do. We always need to have some type of presence. We want to be taken seriously, and I do feel like I've been taken seriously here, and I love that, but we want to be taken seriously everywhere, right? And so we're there, but we're not there yet. There could definitely be some improvement.
What do you feel like women bring to the platform?
Bring a lot of different perspective, especially for women's sports in general. Like, the WNBA is such a hot topic right now. I'm so happy that we're talking about the WNBA. I don't know why we haven't been talking about it for years, right? But we bring a different perspective that maybe the male mind just hasn't ever thought about before. And I think athletes appreciate, like, I actually haven't thought about it that way. And we ask different questions. We've experienced different things than the male mind and than just the male in general. So we're able to bring those experiences into the sports world and ask different types of questions that maybe haven't been asked before because there hasn't been a female in the room.
Well, it feels like you've adapted in all facets just really, really well.
I hope so. I hope.
And like I said before, you just have such a great spirit and such a warm energy about you that it just welcomes everybody else to welcome you. I hope you feel that.
I do. I mean, thank you. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty laid back. Like, let's go have some brews at the local bar. Like, that's just me, you know, and I think my fiance is like that too, and that's why I love him so much, because we're kind of the same person. We're very laid back, chill. We want to meet new people. We want to do new things. Like, we're embracing the community together, and I'm embracing the community doing this job, and I really, really enjoy it.
We are enjoying you. I've
enjoyed
this little time.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love doing this.
Rosie's journey has already been action-packed, and it is far from over as she opens new chapters in her personal life, chases down the action in her professional career, and somehow manages to always keep it real.